The Iberian Masters is a Spanish festival that takes place every year. I was fortunate enough to head over there again this year to compete in this event for the third consecutive year. Some good friends of ours, Steve Wheeldon and Mark Morris, drove our tattle over there for us so we could fly out there to Alicante Airport, where we drove up the coast up to the venue. This is my video diary of this year's event.
Welcome on board your EasyJet flight.
The river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. What goes up must come down. There's lots of friendly faces all around, and nothing's ever lifting me higher than a touch of your sweet desire. Well, we're all built in right. We just have to hold on through the night. As long as we are watching the fire, we'll be safe from the devil's choir. I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together.
Well, the connections, the flight, the car hire, everything was absolutely bang on again for us this year. We drove up the coast direct to the venue. Before we even went to the hotel, we went to go and have a look at the venue, hoping there was going to be some lads fishing there, and straight away we bumped into a couple of familiar Irish faces. Mr. McGoldrick on the end peg. Start as you mean to go on. It's a bit breezy. First look at the venue, bit of colour in the water. Not sure if it's flowing yet, I haven't spoken to the lads, but we've just got here. Can't wait to get the gear out and have a day on the bank tomorrow.
I said I love you forever. We can make it together.
Well, before we headed off to the hotel, we wanted to go and get some bait for the following day, which was going to be the first unofficial practice day. So we drove the 9 kilometres just back up the motorway up to Solana, where we went and got some bait for the following day, and I couldn't help but take you on a little tour of the tattle shop. I'm on the handheld cam for this. We have just arrived. The sun is out, beautiful blue, clear skies. We've just been to the hotel, we've just checked in. Everything went without an hitch. All the connections, the flights, car hire, everything has been absolutely bang on. Always makes the journey a lot more pleasurable. One thing that a lot of people won't know who haven't fished places like this is that there is often a time of day during the middle of the day when the shops and things are closed. That also applies to the tattle shop. It's 5 o'clock, it's just reopened. It's incredibly windy, so I hope you can hear me. But this is Quinta Pesca, the shop where the organisers are based. This is where we get all the bait and that sort of thing. Could just get out of the shade for you. This is where we get all the bait. This is where the event is organised. You can come here any day and get your bait, or you can actually order your bait here, pay for it here, and you can even have it delivered to your peg and delivered to you on the bank, which is what we're doing tomorrow for our first practice day. I can't come here without showing you the shop, so let me just give you a quick tour around this shop. There we go, it's a real Aladdin's cave. As you'd expect with places like this, there's a mixture of angling. It's not like where I live in Sheffield, where it's mainly just kind of coarse fishing. There is obviously some specimen fishing and a bit of fly fishing, but there's a lot of sea fishing and that sort of thing as well. So this tattle shop is very, very mixed. It's a fantastic thing to have right here. Just, you know, it's literally about 9 kilometres from the venue, or from the main section of the venue, which is around C section, B-C section. They've got a selection of ground baits here. There's all sorts in here. Lots of kit that we don't usually see. There's Dad. He's here. As you can see, it's a real Aladdin's cave. I think it's open every day. It's just that middle period when it's not open. How about that for a selection of lines? Loads of rods here. We've even got a selection of ground baits, as you can imagine over here. They're slightly different. If you are watching from the UK, then obviously a lot of the baits and things they use over here are slightly different from what we're used to. But obviously they are catching up, and the bait selections are a lot more like what we're used to. So we have actually got selections of boilies here. We've got carpy type cereal mixers there. I think you've all recognised that one, I'm sure. Ringers, European feeder again, pellets, you know, lots of coarser mixers. I mean, you know, just the baits, a lot of the European baits are a lot coarser than what we're used to in the UK. But it's just great to have a selection of kit like this right on the doorstep, because obviously when you're coming out here you don't always know what you're going to need. If there are any last minute things that you need, or something that happens during the competition where you want extra bits and bobs, and it's nice to know you've got this. But it's a massive advantage having this here, and like I said, the organisers are based here, so you can order your bait at any stage. Last year I was even ordering my bait the night before, something like 9 o'clock on the evening. I could order my bait ready for the next day, so it's just really flexible, and it's just another example of how well organised this event is. I've just got the last bits and bobs that I need here. It's just gone 5 o'clock, so I'm going to head back to the hotel, get a few supplies for the car, some drinks and things for the bank, because we're out on the bank tomorrow and we're looking forward to a good meal. And I think we'll be in bed early. It's been a long day, but we're here and I just can't wait to get on the bank now. So once we did that, it was just a case of heading to the hotel, where we were just going to go and check into the hotel. It's the Hotel Calera, and this hotel is actually where all the competitors stay, and even the organisers stay there as well. And that's a massive, it's a hub to the competition, because as you can imagine, every morning you're having breakfast with all the other competitors, every evening you're having meals together, and obviously everyone's staying in the same hotel. And if you want to have a beer after the meal, then obviously you can have a couple of beers with, you know, lots of friends that we don't really see throughout the rest of the year. So we headed back to the hotel, and you know, it's a fantastic setup, and it really is a lovely place to stay. Well, it was a little bit of a long day, but we'd done everything that we needed to do. I got all the kit, I got my bait, we'd been down to the venue, we'd had a little bit of a recce on how the venue was fishing, what we might be expecting. So we had a really nice meal that night. It was a buffet style. It's a buffet style evening meal there, so you can just go up and get as much food as you want, as many times as you want. So we had a really nice meal, a couple of glasses of wine, had a good chat with some of the friends that we hadn't seen since last year's event, and we were all ready for the following day, which was going to be the first unofficial practice day. Well, good evening everyone. I don't know what the weather's like back home, but I'm sure it can't be quite as good as it is here. Down on the bank side, I thought I'd give you tonight's update from the bank. Over my shoulder there, you probably see Captain Waco just loading his car up. Me and Adam have kind of practiced together today, just because the other stretch was full. But you can see the venue there. There we go. That's the stretch was fished today. But you can see the section over my shoulder if I do that for you. Lovely blue skies. I think Adam's got nice red knees now, red thighs. It's been alright, we caught some fish. The peg that Adam's fished, which you can see where he's just packing up now, he's been the next peg next to the bridge, which, you know, quite honestly is an out and out flyer. It usually wins this whole section. But we came to practice, we came to just kind of catch some fish, and unless you're on where there are actually fish feeding, how can you tell if you're doing it right, or how your approach and how your tackle's working if you're not getting any bites? I've fished the next peg in, peg 2. There we go. It's approximately, let me just think, 44 metres wide, I'd say, just to give you an idea of what that width is like. I've caught about six carp, I think. Lost one at the net, just bullying it, and then I've caught about 7 carasio and 2 eels. Bit of a mixed bag. The carp have come together. I've caught carp only once when Waco did. He's kind of caught carp when I haven't, and when he hasn't, I have. So maybe we've been sharing fish, I don't know. But the bait tray, if I show it that way for you, really nice and simple. Obviously corn, got some white maggots, some red maggots, but these have been, I've mixed some. These are a lot smaller than what we get back home. I don't know if you can tell, but they're nowhere near as big as the maggots we're used to. I've had some ground bait and some hemp, which I fed on the short line. Plenty of drinks of water. You've obviously got to stay hydrated when it's like this, but it's been all right. I've fished 2 different lines from Waco, and yeah, I've caught on every line. I fished a short line as well, but I fished it really, really short. It's really deep just there. I've literally fished about 6 meters, which is about there. Waco's fished a short line further out at about 12 or 14 meters. I think he's had 1 small carasio on that line. On my short line, I've had 1 carasio and 2 eels. But other than that, there haven't been any signs of bigger fish short or on that short line. Certainly not here anyway. But that's it. I just thought I'd give you a quick update. Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better than the last, yesterday's video. Tomorrow is the official training day. So we're going to be back down here tomorrow. We can fish where we want. We get another feel for the venue, how it's fishing. Try and fine tune 1 or 2 little things. And then Friday, Saturday and Sunday are the actual match days. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll update you again tomorrow. I'm not quite sure where we're going to fish. It depends where we can get. Don't know what the conditions are going to be like. It's ended up being quite blustery today, which is making a big difference to getting your feeder tight to that far bank, which in these conditions can be quite tricky. Dad's enjoying the sunshine, as you can imagine, and I'm just getting packed up now. It's about 19-20 minute drive to be exact, back to the hotel, so we're going to get some food. Looking forward to that, and get to bed a little bit earlier tonight. We had a little bit of a later night last night, but that's just because everybody was arriving. It was nice to have a couple of beers with everyone, but we want to really get settled into a routine from tomorrow morning. So hope you've enjoyed this bit of an update, and I will update you again tomorrow, probably from the bank, to let you know what we've caught. Well, that was a really nice session. There was only myself and Adam fishing there, and we caught some fish, which is always good, because on that sort of a venue, it's sometimes you need a little bit of a reminder of how wild these carp are. They really fight like mad when you hook them. So it was just good to get all the tattle out, make sure we got what we needed. I could settle my rods up, and then straight after that session, it was then a case of just planning the following day, which was going to be the second practice day, and that was the day we were all going to sit in a line. So we the rest of the English lads were there, so we could all go up to one section, and we all sat and fished in a line. I collected the bait for everybody the next morning. The bait was delivered down to the bank to one spot, so I collected everybody's bait there. Just put that in the car and drove up to the match length, and we went and fished up in A section. We all got down in a line, which was great. It was really, really windy again. It was becoming evident that every day was quite windy, but again, it was just great to have a few hours on the bank, just getting a feel for the venue. Another fantastic detail about this particular event is that on the final practice day, or official practice day if you want to call it that, the organisers put on some food and drink for everybody, just as a really nice social gathering, and it's almost an opener for the actual event. So what happens is, it was around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we all went back down to where the draw is. We could leave our tattle where it is, so if you wanted to continue fishing afterwards, you can. And what the organisers actually do is put stewards on, which patrol the sections and keep their eye on your tattle, so they look after your tattle, so you can leave it set up on the bank. We just drove back down to the headquarters where the draw is, and that's where we all sat around with everybody else, all the other competitors from the other countries, and we all had some fantastic paella and a couple of drinks, and it was just a really nice kind of a break, and it feels like the competition's really got started once you do that. So that once we did that, we just went back to the pegs. I didn't do any more fishing that day. I just kind of packed my kit away really nice, so that I didn't have anything to do for the first day of competition. So when I got back to the hotel that night, it was just a case of getting some food. I got to bed early, knowing that all my kit was already done. Well, it was great to get a few more hours on the venue. I realised that I probably need a few more hook lengths and things. We were losing quite a bit of kit because we were having to cast a feeder into areas where you wouldn't really want to be casting, you know, really close to the other bank, close to snags. So that evening when I got back to the hotel, all my main bits of kit were done, my rods were done, my shock leaders were done, all that sort of stuff was done. It was just a case of tying a few hook lengths up. So when we got back to the hotel, went back a little bit earlier than normal, so we had a couple of hours before we had to go down for something to eat, and I just kind of chilled out a little bit and tied a few hook lengths in the hotel room. Good evening. Do I look a little bit windswept, and I'm very, very tired as well. Back in the hotel room, I wanted to film from the bank for you today, but it's blown an absolute gale. We've been up in A section, and you know there had been fish caught there yesterday and the day before apparently, but it's fished quite hard today. The conditions have made it a little bit harder. Obviously, a lot of the fish are coming from that far bank, and in conditions like that, where it's 40 metres wide, the wind's just been hacking down, so we've had to fish with slightly heavy feeders. You obviously can't be quite as accurate, so it has been quite tough. We've all fished in a line, so there's been Rob Wotton on the end, coming by Rob's dad, because Rob's dad's fishing here. Then there's been me, then Adam Wakeling, then Steve Ringer, then Phil Ringer, and then the rest of the lads have gone up that way. So we've all fished in a line today, and it's been really interesting. I've done one or two things that I wanted to try. Yesterday I caught a few fish, and I didn't use any method yesterday that I would expect to be using in the competition. All right, so I just kind of tried things out. I tried more ground bait, more live maggots, corn as well, and I tried them on slightly different lines from what I expect to be fishing, and I still caught a few fish, which was encouraging. However, today I fished slightly different again. I've actually fished I fished for smaller fish early on, so I fished for bites, and I've caught some, which is quite encouraging, but they have been quite small, some Carasio. And then as the days progressed, the lads to my left, Steve Ringer had a great start. He's caught a few fish early on, and Waco hasn't had many bites. Phil Ringer on the left of Steve's caught a few, but then as the day went on, the small fish line has kind of dried up and gone. So my plan then was to just kind of work across to the other bank and go looking for carp, and that's exactly what I've done. I managed to land 2. I've hooked 4, which is not mega, but where I was, that's pretty good. You know, it's more than the anglers either side of me and that sort of thing. So, and that still wasn't my carp method for this weekend. So I've just really used my 2 practice days to do things that you wouldn't normally do during the match. I'm back at the digs now. It's very, very snaggy where we've been today. Once you start getting across to that other bank, there are trees in there, branches, there's all sorts in there. So we've all lost 1 or 2 hook lengths. I've lost 2 or 3 hook lengths, a couple of full rigs. There's been a snag in the middle where I've been as well, and there are snags on the inside line as well, which is an issue if you're going to fish that short line, which I will be, but I'm not sure what that range will be yet. It just depends where I draw. So I'm here now. I've packed all my gear away, ready for tomorrow. The car's loaded up. I've come back to the hotel about an hour and a half, 2 hours earlier than normal, so I can tie a load of hook lengths up. I'm just tying them up now, all 50 centimetres with some strong hooks and some thick line. Today we've been fishing 019, 020, 022 and even 024 at some stage. So, you know, it's just a case of you've got to land the fish that you're hooking. That is what that's what it boils down to. You know, if you're hooking 5 carp, you need to land all 5. But that's a little bit easier said than done, because there's a hell of a lot of luck involved. When we're hooking these fish, you don't know where the snags are. You know, you could be that far from a snag when you hook the fish. There might not be any snag there. And obviously when you hook a fish, you don't know if it's going to go left or right, come towards you, or bolt for the other bank. So there's a lot of luck involved, and that's going to be the case. You know, there's going to be lots of fish lost over the next 3 days. So I'm back at the digs now. It is local time. It's 6:20. We go down to eat at 8 o'clock. So, you know, I've got another good hour here. I'm also going to make up some shock leaders, some more shock leaders, because we are using them. And obviously if I lose any or break any, I can quickly tie one back on during the match. I'm sat here with extra time to do these. I am tired. I'd love to have an hour on the bed, catch up on a bit of sleep, but this needs to be done first, because you know, obviously, I think at some stage everyone's going to be losing some tattle. The hotel, I'll show you around the room. It's a very nice room, just a typical hotel room. Obviously, there's only myself and my dad here. You've got a safe over there as well, which is all as part and parcel of the room. There we go. Obviously, it's nice and tidy, as you'd expect. Okay. I don't know if you can hear the wind out there, but it is actually blowing really, really strong. We're obviously high up here. The glass is a little bit loose, but there we go. Lovely view. There's the mountains. You can probably hear the wind now. It's a beautiful hotel. Stunning. You can just see the sea there. So we have actually got a sea view, even though we don't plan on going anywhere near it. But it's been a bit rough out there today, but it's been like Southfield. So I've got about another, I'm going to give it another hour, not to do anything too specific. I've got hook lengths to do and shock leaders, and I'm just going to use the time to just do any of those because there are 3 days of competition. So any extra hook lengths and things that I do now, it means I might not have to do any tomorrow night and so on. 9 o'clock draw in the morning, and we are fishing 12 till 5 over the next 3 days.
Said I love you forever. We can make it together. What goes up must come down. There's lots of friendly faces all.
Well, the buzz was incredible for day one of the competition. We weren't drawing until 9 o'clock in the morning. So that was just a really nice casual breakfast that morning. We could have a nice steady drive. It takes between 15 to 20 minutes to get to the venue from the hotel where we stay. But you know, it's not a big busy city by any means. It's just a nice steady drive. So I got there nice and early, just so I could speak to quite a few people at the draw, just, you know, meet a few other friends that we haven't seen for a year or so. But yeah, as you can imagine, the buzz is incredible at that sort of event, and certainly at the draw on day one, everyone's off scratch, everyone's really enthusiastic. And what they do, the actual format of the draw for this competition is that they actually draw a number out from the number of anglers that are actually registered on the competition. So, for example, if there were 106 competitors, they've got 106 pegs in a bag, and what they basically do is those pegs, each one represents the number of the angler that registered, you know, the order that you booked and registered for the competition. So mine, for example, I was 45th to register onto the competition this year. So what they do is they take a number out, and that is the number that they draw from. So for example, if they drew number 45 out, I would be the first to draw. The 46 angler would be second, 47, 48, and that's the way that they do it. And the other key detail to the way that they do the draw here is that at the Iberian Masters, end pegs can be absolutely unbeatable. They actually work the draw so that you can actually only draw one end peg during the competition. Okay, so when you've drawn an end peg, you can't draw an end peg again. So it's just their way of trying to make it as fair as possible. Well, for me, I was off to B section. It was just around the corner from where we practiced the previous day. I drew B10. It's on a big bend there, and the wind was really howling down there. You know, it was really hitting it. I was virtually on the point of the bend. But as with any sort of river or any sort of venue like this, I always fancy points. I always feel as though the fish might tend to come closer in, and it looked quite wide there in comparison to some of the other areas of the river. But my peg looked okay, but it was very, very windy. But I just couldn't wait to get my tattle set up and get fishing. Well, it was a really slow and frustrating match, to be honest. One of the key details I picked up on straight away was how clean it was across. Right, even when I went really close up to the rocks, that it was very clean. And one of the things that seemed to be becoming apparent was the fish were in the snags. So if you got a peg that was a little bit snaggy, there were overhangs, there were tree roots and things in there, and branches in the water, then yes, obviously that would make it very difficult to fish. But as it turned out, that really was where the fish were living, or where they were holding up. So it was a very clear bottom over there. It was a frustrating match, very few bites. And I just thought I'd give you a quick download of how that went as soon as the match finished. Well, it's been a frustrating day, I'll be absolutely honest. I've caught most of these in the first 40 minutes. I had 3 fish in the net before anyone here on this bend had even had a bite. I've ended up with 2 carp, 2 F1s, sorry, 2 Carasio, not F1s. That's the kind of stamp that we're after. And then the wild carp that this place is so well known for. They haven't been big fish that I've had, unfortunately. And then there's the other. Lovely fish, really hard fighting. They fight incredibly hard. I'll just pop these back and just quickly talk you through my match. It's been... You're going to hear this on the camera. I can't really get out of the wind, to be honest, but it's been incredibly windy again. Hopefully you can hear me. I've been on this bend. It's a big bend here. I'm on B10. The sun's out now. It's been out most of the day, to be honest, but the wind has been horrendous. It really has been bad today. The peg here is one of the widest pegs that you're going to see here. It's about 47 metres wide. I've really fished 3 lines. I've fished a line at 12 metres. I've had another line at 35 metres, and then I've had another line at 42 metres, and I've kind of worked my way across from 42 metres. But like I say, I've had 3 fish in the first 40 minutes. Nobody here on this bend, right the way around there, and the same round here as well, right the way around that way, has even had a bite in that period. And then they've just gone. Simple as that. I've moved around a little bit, I've gone looking for fish, I've not caught them. I've then started giving it a little bit longer, waiting for long, leaving it in longer up to 10 and 15 minutes. But all what's happened is then, whenever I've left it in longer than 10 minutes, I've either come back with a bleak, an eel, or a turtle. And obviously there's been 1 or 2 sunfish as well. I think I've had 4 sunfish, 2 eels and 3 turtles. So when I felt I needed to leave it in longer, I just wasn't confident that the bait wasn't getting done by one of those fish. Obviously turtles don't count, eels don't count, the sunfish do count, but they're only that big. So it's or sun perch, depends who you speak to, what they're called. But yeah, it's been a very frustrating day, and it's been the kind of day where lost fish has been mega. I have lost 2 fish today as well, so I've ended up with 2 carp, 2 Carasio, and I've lost 2. And ironically, they were in consecutive casts as well. I hooked 1 and I didn't get any turns on it, and it's just cut me off on whatever snag is over there, whether there could be branches or anything. And the other one, I got about 2 turns on it. This was next cast, 2 turns on it, and the hook's just pulled out. So whether the hook right or not, I don't know. But the massive thing for today for me is knowing that obviously there are 2 days left, is that the fish went, I've gone 4 hours without a fish, and that's really, you can't afford to do that. Even when you get a good lead, you'd have to have an absolute mega lead to be able to carry going 4 hours without a fish. And what's happened is the anglers around me have caught 1, caught another one, and the anglers either side of me have ended up beating me. They've had 3 fish each, so I've had 4 fish. They've had 3 each, but they've had bigger fish. The lad on my right, he's had one last cast, just over 4 kilo, and they're mega fish. They're mega fish, So I've had about 10 fish altogether. But like I say, it's the weight that counts. So I've had 5 kilo 800, and it has been quite a hard section, but very close. And when it's down to, if it had been a weight competition, it's a different issue because that means you're not too far behind on weight. But when it's a points competition, then that's what it's all about, because no matter whether you're 100 grams out, which I am on 2 or 3 anglers, they're beaten me by 100 grams, it's a point every time. So I really think I'm going to be probably halfway in the section. I might even be in the lower half, which means, you know, potentially to win the competition. That ain't going to happen now. But there are loads of framing places to fish for, and I'll just take what I've learned today and roll on to tomorrow. But yeah, like I said, that initial period when it's gone quiet, that's the thing I need to be wary of for tomorrow. And I haven't had, I've had an eel on the short line, I haven't had any carp. And from what I see, I think there's only been 1 fish caught on that short line, which has been right up there. And I think it was Phil Ringer on B4. Well, it was a very disappointing start to the competition, but, you know, that's what it is, you know. I gave it everything, and if that's still not enough, then, you know, at least I'm not coming away, you know, kicking myself, wishing I'd done this, wishing I'd done that. I just gave it everything I could, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. One of the key details to this competition is that viewers that may have watched my 2 previous videos of this competition from the previous 2 years, they are in the playlist if you want to check those out, is that if anybody doesn't catch any fish on this event, so if you blank, for example, they decided about 3 years ago, I think, that if you didn't catch, the evening of the day when you didn't catch, when you sat eating your evening meal, you had to sit with a strip of white electrician's tape on your forehead. Thankfully I'd caught that day, but there were 1 or 2 blanks that day, and yeah, I think when you see this, I think you'll get a feeling for how much of a buzz there is around trying to dodge the tape.
Only 3 people. 1 Spain, 1 Romania, 1 England.
It's a fantastic atmosphere, you know, it's something that really ties everyone together, you know, everybody gets involved in it. And, you know, the thing is, on a venue like this, you know, anybody can blank, it can do it to you, and I've seen some of the biggest names in angling sitting there with tape on their head, but again, it's something that really unites everyone, you know. So yeah, it was a disappointing day, but we'd had some great food, we had a bit of a laugh after the meal, and yeah, it was off to bed at a sensible time because we were going to get up the next day and do it all over again. Well, I was nowhere near the leaderboard on day 1, but Marvin Schubert took the lead with a section win with a fantastic 23 kilos. So he was leading the competition after day 1, but obviously, as you'd expect, there was still a long way to go. Well, it's the morning of day 2. Yesterday was certainly not the start that I wanted, but looks like the wind's dropped a little bit today. The sun is trying to come through. Hopefully you can hear me all right because of the wind. I'm having to film this on my phone, so hopefully the sound isn't too bad. It's just a fresh start again. I found out that I ended up 14th out of 21 yesterday, which was really disappointing, but it was very, very close. You know, 1 fish could have meant as many as 6 or 7, maybe even 8 points. I haven't scrutinised the weigh sheets too much because, you know, you can get bogged down in that sort of thing. So it's day 2. I've just collected my bait from the tackle shop. Has the bait here, so you can order it and they have it here waiting for you. People who saw this event last year will probably seen the match fishing stretch. Basically what happens here is it's a two-pronged event this. Well, it's two separate events really, but it's run by the same organisers at the same time. Half of the match length is feeder anglers. It's a feeder competition, and this stretch here is what they refer to as the match fishing competition, and it basically means float fishing. So down here on this stretch here, this is all the float fishing competition. Pole fishing mainly, but I know some of them do catch on a waggler towards that other bank. The wind's just coming again now, but it's not as bad as it was or has been. So all these competitors stay in the same hotel as us as well, so you can imagine it's a really nice atmosphere. Just going to go in now, get the draw done. Everybody has a lanyard in this competition. Okay, so on day one you're given a lanyard like that, and that basically obviously proves that you are actually fishing the competition, you're registered. And they just put a sticker with your draw number on the back of it, just so that when you've drawn, you don't forget what peg you've got. You know, it's like sometimes there's that much banter going on here. Obviously, when the draw's done, it's quite easy to lose your way a little bit as regards finding your peg and all that sort of stuff. So, I'm just going to go in now, draw, and I'll show you the peg once I get up there. And I'm hoping for a bit of a dolly peg today, just to try and get me back on track. Next door, same again. Well, familiar surroundings. I've drawn the next peg from yesterday. The wind is still blowing, not as bad as yesterday, so that's B11. We've got a fish bang in line with that card. So I'm going to be fishing off the natural bank today. As you can see, it's just grass there, and I think it is quite high. There's a platform there and a platform there, but I've got a fish on the card. It's a very messy peg across there. I'll show you some close-ups when I get down on the bank. So that's B11, B10. It's where I was yesterday. But at least Dad's got a ringside seat. Let's just hope he's going to have some action to watch. The wall's not as high here, so at least I can pass the gear down. It saves me climbing down them big steps. So that makes it a little bit easier on these pegs. Just down to my right, close to where Waco was yesterday, Richard Smith as well. If you look over there, that is about peg B14, I think. You can just see the inlet. Certain times of year, that's a real noted peg, as you can imagine. They had 8 kilo weights off there yesterday. I think Waco was one to the right of that. But let's hope it's not going to. Let's hope it's not going to produce today. That's the first proper look at the peg anyway. You've got the 3 of the rods out already. 4 metre keep net. As you can see, we're quite high off the water here, so that's what we need. Adjustable feeder arm. Obviously we're high up, so you want to get that rod down. Usual side tray that you've seen me use. And I've got a 5 metre, well it's 5.5 metre landing net handle set up. Pegs like this is when that comes in handy. Just gonna now get out there with a bomb. I really want to know what that far bank's like. That's going to be the issue here on this peg. As you can see, there's a mass of it. It's an old tree there, which is exactly opposite me. But because of the way that they've pegged it, I can go left. I can go left to this area, and just not as much room to the right, but this area here. I really don't want to go into this area here. If I zoom in, you can probably see how messy it is under there. I know the lad that fished here yesterday was trying to get in there, but the biggest trouble he had was the overhangs up there. A lot of those overhangs are coming back towards us, and you can't really tell how far towards us they are actually coming, so that was the big issue. We really need to be close to that other bank. So the spots I'm going to be looking at, probably that area there. I'll only know what these overhangs are like once I start trying to cast a bomb out there. And then the other area is to the left of that big bush, which is this area here, but that looks like there's a few overhangs there, but unfortunately they're the areas that I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to go into from what I saw here yesterday, so I've got to expect and be prepared to lose quite a bit of kit. Well, I couldn't believe that I'd drawn the next peg from the previous day. It was just, you know, you just don't want things like that to happen, but it's fishing, that's what happens, you know. I could easily draw it again the next day, but I thought I'd get a better result. I'll be absolutely honest, I thought I'd get a better result on day 2, because obviously I'd had a little bit of experience in that area from the previous day. You know, I tweaked a couple of little things, but I just thought the best way of giving you an honest appraisal of how that match went would be if I did it straight away from the bank. I didn't want to be here again. Obviously yesterday it proved that there weren't a lot of fish here. The wind was bad yesterday. Today the wind hasn't been quite severe. We've got some sunshine now, but guess what, it's fished even harder. But it hasn't only fished hard here, it's fished hard all the way through. Quick rundown of my match. I've ended up with just 2 fish today. I've had a carp and a carasio, and they both come from the middle. I haven't caught anything across. I've rigged up some heavy duty gear for fishing across there. As you can see, there's 1 or 2 snags over there, and yes, there are snags there which are awkward to fish, but you like to hope that they're going to hold some fish. I haven't even had a bite over there. I've been caught up a couple of times. The bottom isn't too bad if you can get your rig in between the branches and everything. So I've been able to fish over there, and I haven't even had a bite. I haven't had a liner, not even a bleak or anything. So the 2 fish that I've had, well, I've actually had 3 fish, but the 2, the carasio and the carp, have come from bang in the middle, and then I've had a sun perch as well. So I've ended up weighing 2 kilos 760, which is way down in the section. It has fished hard, but it's been very, very close. Down that way, in the low numbers, there have been some 3 kilo weights, which is still not a lot, but obviously every one of those has knocked me down, so I might even have a bigger score today than what I had yesterday. But it has fished hard all the way through the length. We've heard that there are quite a few blanks, and some of the lads that did well yesterday have literally only got 1 fish. And even with 2 hours to go, we heard that Phil Ringer and Adam Wakelin were still blanking. Steve Ringer's gone and drawn the end peg today in the section that it was in yesterday, so he obviously couldn't wait to get there, and we've heard that's not produced quite as much as what they expected. So it could be a bit of a wake-up day, you know, one's going to shake everything up, but it sounds like there have been some blanks as well. For some reason the river just seems to have switched off. For me, it's going to be another really big score, so the only thing I can hope for tomorrow is to draw on a few fish and have a good day just to finish off the festival. But it's really been about sticky mag today. But when you know you've only had 2 fish, you can't really talk about patterns and what's been best, because every bite it's been Southfield in the sun. You know, some of the lads, they've just sat on one line, sat 15 minutes, and after an hour or 2 hours it's just gone round and they've got one out of the blue. No pattern whatsoever. But you know, if that's what we're faced with, then that might be how I'm going to have to fish it tomorrow. Well, very disappointing, like I said, but there have been blanks. At least I've caught. That was the first little carasio. Very, very welcome fish after over an hour and a half. And then I've had a long wild carp. Not very big by the standards here, but again, very, very welcome. So that's all you can do. Just hook and land the fish that you're hooking, and just hope they're going to be big enough. But like I say, sadly, a little bit too small and not enough of them. But let's hope for a better day tomorrow. Well, that virtually put me out of the competition, you know, but I was just there to enjoy it. This is an event that you can't really class it as a massive one that you want to try and chase and win, just because it's a little bit kind of open-ended. It's a little bit random sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love to win this competition. I really would, you know, and I'll do anything I can to do that. But it's very much a trip. It's more of a holiday type thing, and that's why I love bringing Dad along on that event, because he loves Spain, I love Spain. It's not too much of a, you know, a long journey. It's only a 2.5 hour flight. But you know, I I knew what had happened obviously after day 2. I was out of the competition really, so it was just a case of enjoying the trip now. So we headed back to the hotel again for another really nice meal, and guess what? It was tape time again. Well, after day 2, there'd been some changes at the top of the leaderboard. Steve Ringer had won his section again for the second day running, so he was now on 2 points. He was leading the competition. In second place was Cosmin Brawler. He had had a first and a second, so he was on 3 points. And then England's Rob Wotton was on 4 points, so he was lying in third place. Well, the morning of day 3 was quickly upon us. The week seemed to be absolutely flying by. And I went and drew peg E13. Now, those of you that have watched last year's video of this event, that was the section that I drew in every day. I drew in that section all 3 days last year, so I was very familiar with it back then. And just like last year, on one of the days, I drew next to Tom Pickering. He was on my left. But that is just getting into the widest part of that stretch there. And I always fancy that for a few fish, always. We know it had been fishing hard. There'd been very, very little caught there the previous day. I don't know if there were 1 or 2 blanks and maybe just single fish. But we felt, obviously, this was our 4th, 5th day on the venue, and I really felt, like we'd catch a few fish. Well, good morning. It is the morning of day 3. Little bit of a change of scenery. We are down in E section and I've drawn E13. Now those that watched last year's video of this competition will probably remember that on day one I drew this part of E section. I was in E section all 3 days last year. I'm in the peg that I think I was on last year on day one when I was next to Tom Pickering. He was on my left. That's happened again. Tommy has drawn the next peg. He's on my left. He's not at his peg just yet. He's not arrived yet, but I'm just going to fish it the same sort of way. You know, there have been blanks here over the last couple of days, and so it's just going to be a case of doing what I've just been doing. You know, we need carp, end of, so I'm going to have a short line. I'll have a line further across in slightly deeper water, maybe 3/4, that sort of range, and then I'm going to try and get close to that other bank. Well, what a frustrating match. There's something about this competition that keeps kicking me you know where on the third day. The last 2 years it's happened to me. The previous 2 years I was pretty much in contention, certainly for a top 5 finish, and the third day on the previous 2 years has just completely punched me in the face. Well, that didn't go to plan. There's just something about this competition with the last day for me. I just don't know what it is. It's some sort of third day or final day curse. I've not caught. I've hooked one fish after about 2 hours and that's come off. That was over at the far side, and then that's it. I've not had another bite. That's it really. I've fished for bites for about an hour. Couldn't get a sign. Tommy's here. Tommy's had a bad day as well.
Don't want to talk about it.
First 3 fish, first 3 carp, Tommy hooked, all came off. Did one of them break you and you pulled out the other 2?
The small one come off, then I hooked a great big one, like a 5 kilo fish on the far bank, and I never got a wind on it and it bust me.
Bearing in mind, no one else had even hooked a fish.
And then I hooked another one next cast and it just pulled off. Just had a bit of a nightmare. But that big one's going to cost me a lot of money. It were a proper one, that one.
Yeah.
I just never got a wind and it bust me, but that's how it goes.
But then Tom's had a small Carasio, which has obviously saved his blank, but then you've gone and got a carp short late on, and then that's it. But Carl next to him's gone and got 2 in 20 minutes.
There's been more fish that side. Yesterday all the fish were there.
Yeah.
And all the fish are down this side today. It's a really strange venue for that. You don't seem to catch them in the same spots.
Yeah, and going that way, there's one fish, and we don't know how the other end's fished. I've heard Will Freeman, he was struggling for about 2.5 hours. I don't think he'd caught, but I've just had a message off him. He's got at least 6 fish now.
I've seen him catching in the last hour down. I kept seeing nets going out.
Yeah, so. Will's been second peg from the end, and the end peg was Jason. I don't know if he's caught as well. So we can't even put it down to experience, really, can we?
No. Really weird that today.
Yeah, so another third disappointing final day, but it's going to be a nice little bit of tape on the head for me, and hopefully it's not too much damage done for Tommy. He was 10th this morning.
Oh no, I've gone. No, I've been miles down today, so.
Well,
but I've had my chance. I can't grumble. I had a big fish on that would have got me mega points, and I can't grumble. So
yeah,
it's what it is. But the trouble is, we all them rocks over there, they tear off and they just bust you on the rocks. I mean, they're breaking 0.18 and 0.20.
Yeah, it's unreal.
And that's the problem. But it's disappointing because you knew it was going to be like that. And
it's hard enough hooking them and getting them on, but then you've gone. Then try and get them out as well.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
I've had my chance. I can't grumble. I've had my chance.
That's it. So now we're going to pack his kit away now. We've got to load the van up tonight. That'll be driving back to England tomorrow. I think they'll be setting off, won't they?
Yeah, early morning, yeah.
And then we're flying back to Manchester Airport tomorrow. So
back to lovely sunny England.
I'll film some of the presentation for you, and no doubt we'll see Tommy going up for an envelope. So
not tonight, without a doubt.
But it's been another fantastic event, incredibly well run.
Oh, incredible!
Yeah,
unbelievable.
If anybody is interested in this event, it's certainly not just about the fishing. There's a lot more to it than that.
The fish just topped it middle.
Has there? Can we have another hour?
Yeah.
I'll see you at the presentation. And I never expected to not catch. I'd had one bite, that was it, one bite, and that came off. I got about 4 or 5 turns on it and it's just pulled out. I didn't bully it in any way because I wasn't really tight across, so it was just one of those things. But it's just disappointing. It's disappointing when you're fishing with baits like maggots. You're not fishing in any sort of high risk way. You think you'd be catching the odd Carasio in between or just a stray carp, but it's amazing how few fish have actually really been caught through that section, and most of the other sections as well. So it's a little bit disappointing, but that meant obviously we were heading back to the hotel. The festival was over for me, but I was going to head back again, have some really nice food, a couple of beers. I think we earned a couple of beers, and then it was obviously time for the tape. Well, where we would normally have an Italian host, they unfortunately had to head back to Italy because the government was starting to put restrictions on travel and that sort of thing, so they had to leave the competition early and head back to Italy just to make sure they got home in time for that. So young Mark Eves decided he would take over and run the show.
The first person I would like to invite up, Stefano Ambrogini.
Number one, chill down with me.
Number two person, victim, the lovely, the man, Milan Melchior. The third person on our list, the one, the only, Jamie Harrison. So the last person today, what can I say about this person?
He's been gone well this week.
He has been babysat all week.
He's fell out with his best mate.
Legend.
He's fell out with his best mate.
He's fell out with his best mate.
No, it's never been me, mate.
He's eaten shit.
He snored and kept the great TV up.
He's not been allowed to go to the toilet those 2
He's
weeks.
not allowed. He's eaten more than the majority of us here. And thankfully today he's caught no fish. Nick Spears!
Well, it's been a fantastic event. The presentation, I was going to film the whole of it for you, but it is obviously it's quite a long affair, and I'm sure you can all see the results online when they are published, which they, at the time of this is getting uploaded, the results are there. But I thought I'd just run out in real time the top 3 in the feeder competition for you.
Second place is José Evangelista. And the winner of the 15th edition of the Iberian Masters feeder fishing is Steve Ringer.
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I've got the microphone now. I'd just like to say a massive thanks to the organisers. I fished a lot of events in Europe, and this is without doubt been one of the best run I've ever been to. Really friendly atmosphere. a superb event that's going to be a regular fixture in my calendar. I can't wait to get back next year. Thank you everyone for coming.
Well, I've got to say a massive congratulations and well done to Carlos and to Jose. You know, I mean, I don't know Carlos that well, but he's obviously, he must have had an incredible few days for him to finish in third. Well done, mate. And Jose, a fellow Matrix angler, he always does well in this competition. You know, he really knows what he's doing, and you know, it'll be interesting to speak to him one day about whether the fishing there is very similar to where he lives. He's actually Portuguese, so maybe it's similar fishing to what they're used to doing where he's from. But if I ever catch up with him about that, I will obviously let you know and film it for you. But then obviously, you know, we've got to say massive well done to Steve Ringer. He's there again. I mean, what can you say about him? You know, he's one of the anglers that, you know, you can't help but admire for whatever reason, you know, because he gets results on lots and lots of different venues, you know, natural venues as well as commercial venues. This was a river that we fished, and it was his first appearance, so I've got to say massive well done again to you, Steve. Absolute awesome performance, mate. It'll be interesting to see if he's there next year. Obviously, the way things are at the moment, we don't know if we are going to be there next year. And the calendar is getting busier and busier and busier, and it's getting to the stage now where this is such a fantastic event. I would always want to be there, but you know, sometimes you've got to look at what other options are out there and where your priorities lie in the sort of fishing that you want to be doing. But you know, if there's anybody watching this that hasn't done this competition and you're able to do it, I strongly recommend doing it. But try and do it like a holiday. You know, you want to go and fish, you want to go and compete, yes, of course, but expect the fishing to be tough sometimes, you know, because it will be tough. But it's very much it's almost like the World Pairs in the sense that the social side of it is almost as big as the fishing side of it. So if you're able to do it, then I just add the page on Facebook, and that'll keep you in touch with all next year's dates and all that sort of thing. But another fantastic event, loved every minute of it. The fishing was the only downside to it, but that's the bit that is the most unpredictable, you know, but everything else, an absolute fantastic trip. Thanks for all the great messages. It was nice to have a few days away with Dad, and thank you to everybody who came to say hello to us and see us on the bank. It's been massively appreciated yet again. I've got so many other videos coming out to you this year, and a lot of them are going to be this sort of video where they are festivals, assuming we can get out and fish. If not, I'm still going to be going and doing some sort of filming for you. So if you don't want to miss out on any of those videos, any future videos, just hit subscribe there. And if you want to see more coaching tuition style videos, extra videos each month, check out that channel just there, Patron TV. Well, thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all on the bank real soon. So please stay safe and healthy, and I hope to see you real soon.